Hello and welcome back, guys. So let's start IPing our virtual machines, the lab virtual machines. So we have this VLab 50 and we are going to assign an IP address. So I basically just use the script as you have seen to create these virtual machines, and we are going to right click on the VLab, which you will have access to, and open the console. Okay, so we are going to select. So in your, when you log in, you will be able to see your VLab 50 which, or VLab 40 or 30, whichever it is, right, from your side. So if for the first one we already assigned the IP, and you have seen it how we have done it. So if you go down and you can see it, see the IP is assigned. Now we will be working on 51. So these are nested ESX hosts. That means on the physical ESX host we are running a virtual machine, and the virtual machine is going to run ESX again. And this is version 7 which we are running. There you go. And this is picked up an IP address from DHCP, which we do not want to run on. So we basically are going to open the remote console again like this. Or we can open VMRC, whichever is working. That's 50. We need 51. Launch remote console. Okay, web console is here. So there are two ways, remote console or the web console. So you can see it's 233, the IP address. Now, because I have built this from a template, and the template was sanitized before I made it a template, that means obviously I said reset all the details. So it will basically reset it. The IP address and everything will be wiped off. When it powers on, it should give you another 60 days license. So when we are here, because we have done a reset, it doesn't even have a root password. Okay, so all you have to do is press enter to log in. Okay, so we are there. Now first thing first, we need to set a password. So how are we going to do that? The first option is configure password. Click enter, and then old password, we don't have one, so we leave that blank, and then we set a new password. Okay, okay, set a password and confirm the password and press enter. Okay, oh great, it doesn't match, so make sure it matches. And then again, what have I done? Okay, so that's the password done. Now go to configure management network. Now for those of you who are seeing this for the first time, on the template, on the script which we were running, I added a command to add another NIC card. It's not enabled at the moment. I would say it's you can enable it from here, just press a space bar, or you can enable it from the vCenter server as well. So just to let you know, that's where if you have multiple NICs and you want to make sure these two are running as bond or teamed, you just enable it here, and then it will be connected. But at the moment, from the network itself, it's disconnected. See, can you see that it's saying disconnected? So why it is showing that is because on the script I didn't enable it. When I ran the script, I basically added a network card, but I chose not to do it because this is going to be a good learning curve for you. See, why is it not saying disconnected? It's because it's disconnected from here. Select it and click OK, and then see what happens. Escape, and then go inside again. Connected. Can you see that? Now it's connected, and we are basically, we can, if you want to, select both of them. Okay, make sense? But I don't want to select that. Yes, Sonia?
I tried with the blank root password and it's saying invalid credentials for me.
कौन सा वाला है सोनिया? Which one is it?
It's 21.
देखो ESXi-21 तो नहीं खोल लिया ना आप?
Yeah.
No, that's the old one.
Oh,
Let's power it off, Sonia, okay?
okay.
This is why I get into a habit of naming it first. I think you should be able to rename it to old as well. Rename it to old, and then at some point I will do a cleanup exercise and delete them. See how I did it on here? ESX51 old बोल के डाल दिया मैं, तो you don't get confused then. समझ रहे ना?
Yeah.
Sonia, I have to say I'm quite proud of you. So you figured out the problem that it was not powered on. You tried to reconnect it, so you did a lot of troubleshooting on your own. One thing you need to focus is read the error messages as well, because first time I connected the first one, I didn't read it too. On the right side it popped up a message and I was like, who cares, I don't want to read it, and I went ahead, right? On the second time I was a little bit cautious, and then when I read, it says license expired. So also make sure you read the messages. It's a good advice to do, like it's a good tip, right? Obviously it's not working for a reason and it's saying why it is. So we need to
Yeah.
always focus on the error messages. And sometimes, for me, I've done it so many times, I just don't try to read. I was like, I know what to do. Tick, 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 next, 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 done. And then 2 minutes later, nothing happened. Why? Because I didn't read what it said. So होता ही है.
Yes, yes.
So then you go and okay, what's happening now? Now start reading some stuff, and then you'll say, oh, okay, this is why it's happening. Okay, let's get back to our 51. So we were configuring the network. So over here, I would suggest just leave the first one ticked, which is what we are having, and the second one unticked, and go to IPv4. Choose the last option, which is static. That's what we want to set. Use the arrow key to make sure you don't wipe everything off, and then now you can delete them. And then this one is ESX51, so I would just assign this IP, the last IP of ESX51. This is going to be 51. The subnet remains the same 255000, and the gateway is the same 10.10.10.250. Now the next important thing over here before we finish is to set the DNS servers. These are the open DNS servers which we get from the router. So we just need to change it to the lab DNS server, which is 251. They are also my AD servers. So 252.252. There you go. And then the name, lastly, if you do want to name it properly, ESX51 this is. And okay, we could potentially name the suffix ES, leave the caps off. Suffix should be just the suffix. I don't want to write the name, so it's lab dot, what is it? Lab dot agileops.co.uk. Now I haven't saved it yet. Now this is a good test. Open CMD, start pinging your ESX host. Now there are two ways to do it. So first of all, I want to find out what is my okay, if let's try to do it like this, 51, okay, and obviously it will say I'm not there, it will get bounce back. See, destination unreachable. But I want to get my server name as well, because I want to add to my vCenter with the server. So I would say ns lookup, and there you go, I found my server name. Okay, this is the DNS name. Okay, now let me start pinging with the DNS name. For this, ping, ये Linux की इतनी आदत हो गई कि I'm using Linux commands here. Okay, so there you go. Now it is working. So start pinging. No, start pinging with the -t, so you see when it fails or when it starts. Okay, so let's see couple of pings coming up. Actually, let's close that CLSDO, and then now you guys can see it better. Okay, it's unreachable, you can see that, right? Now we go here, and what I've done is everything is okay. I just escape it, and it's saying, do you want to save the settings? Now don't read and say no or something. You need to press yes to save all the configuration which you have done. So you have pressed yes, and there you go, bingo, started replying there. So that shows that your networking is done properly, and you are pinging the right IP. You accidentally didn't IP a wrong server. All that basically is covered in just one command there. Actually two. You basically did ns lookup and found your host name, and then you are pinging the host name and you are seeing that it is responding. And why is it stopped responding then? Yeah, it is responding. There you go. So that is how I would expect you to work on a production environment as well when you're doing your job. So now going back to your lab, 50 is production is there. I will add a host. Let's start by adding both of them together. So paste ही नहीं हो रहा यार. Okay, let's go back and get that. What was the IP? So here typing. There you go. We got the name. Okay, the username, default username is always going to be the root. Okay, use the same credentials for both of them because I'm adding both. Oh, the one should be 50 and one should be 51, and then the credentials I have given. Click next. See 50 कुछ check नहीं करे अपन, 50 का फटा आ रहा कुछ. Okay, let's add one. I'll look at 50 later. So this is pretty much done, right? So you cross that. There you go. That's working. This is the SHA thumbprint. You accept it. Click OK. Yeah. ESX VMware model. Yeah. ESX version 7. Finish. There you go. It's coming up. It will be disconnected and it will be on maintenance mode, but then you can obviously sort it out later. There you go. 51 is online and it's on maintenance mode, as I said. That's how you add it. Now what is the next step? So guys, I want you to do this in the background while you're like if you're comfortable with it. Or the other option we can do is let me configure everything. We can then, you can then start, and if you have problems I can help you. Now what do you do next? Let's continue the session on this 51. What do you do next? What we'll do is we will use 51 as our template ESX host. So on this one I want to create a host profile which we'll be using in the next sessions. Okay, so I will configure it to the best how I want it. So I will configure all the things like, you know, the network card, the storage, the NTP servers and everything. I will configure it on this one and I will extract all that information in a host profile. And then for 51 we have extracted it. So for the other host, which is 50, I can just apply that host profile and I don't need to manually do all this step. Okay, so but for the first one you have to do it manually, of course, right? So what do you do here? So next step which we'll do is, first your host is added, go to configure and you can see your virtual switches. So management switch will be up. There you go, 51 is there. VMKernal adapters pe bhi dekh lo, there is only one there. Okay, last week we did networking session, and what did we learn? We learned that we can have network traffic on the same management network. Okay, so for now let's add network vMotion traffic on management network as well. So let's leave that aside. Now why do I want to do that? Because obviously we have two ESX hosts, we don't want issues, we want management to take care of vMotion traffic. That's fine. The other thing is I have to create an additional network card for what? For my
vMotion traffic.
No, vMotion का तो यहाँ sort out कर दिए ना अपन. vMotion traffic के लिए तो यहाँ कर दिए. So I did add that network card thinking about vMotion, but it makes more sense to isolate the storage traffics. समझ रहे ना? ISCSI adapters add कर रहे थे देखो अपन. Remember? So let's add a new adapter. Okay, for ISCSI. So again, it is going to be on the default TCP stack, right? It doesn't say it does say ISCSI here. You see that? So click next. Now create a standard switch or select an existing one. So we will create a new standard switch. Browse. No. This is selecting an existing one. This is select existing one. Select existing network. Before we do that, let's do one thing. This vSwitch 0 is created. Okay, let's create a new virtual switch for the other adapter we have. Okay, so add network, physical adapter we are going to add. Click next. vSwitch 0 hai, right? Existing, but new adapter. So this is something which you didn't learn last time because we didn't had additional network adapter. So this is new for you. So new standard virtual switch bana rahe apan. Click next. And then you see active standby. We discussed this briefly last time, didn't you? I said we only have one adapter. Now we can go add, and it will see the VMNIC 1. VMNIC 0 is used for management. Remember, I had VMNIC 0 and 1. So we enabled 0 for management, and I didn't enable it. I connected it, but I didn't enable it. So this is where it is. I will click OK, and it will be added to this network. Now click next. Remember, over here we are just enabling that physical adapter to use a new switch. What is the name of the switch? नया switch आ गया, देखो ये क्या नाम है इसका सोनिया?
switch 1
पहले जो स्विच था उसका नाम क्या था?
0.
So ये नया switch create हो गया. Right, now we have two switch to decide which one we want to use. So if we go to VMKernal adapters, we can't see the switch here, right, because it's not a kernel thing, but we will see the switch here. Standard virtual switch नीचे आ गया देखो, right, and nothing is connected, no ports assigned. We didn't assign anything, it just created a switch. Now what we are going to do is we go to kernel adapter and create add, and then we say VMKernal ही होना है, ठीक है, next, and then existing standard switch select करना है, browse, there you go, you got the first switch which you are going to use for your ISCSI traffic. And always ISCSI traffic is quite dangerous to run on the production network. Always have it on a different VLAN, on a different switch, different physical network. Okay, if you are using ISCSI. If you are using Fiber, you don't need to care, right? Click next. Name VMK ISCSI. I don't have VLAN, so I'll leave that, and we are not enabling anything because this is for ISCSI. Click next. We will, however, assign an IP address 10.10.10. No. For storage traffic, ISCSI network has to be on 11. 11 dot, the same IP of your box 51. And this remains the same 255.0.0.0. Okay, so याद रखो कि आपका IP जो है 10.10.10.51 कर रहे थे normally. For adding storage, you need to have 10.10.11.51. Why? I'll tell you that. Well, it's a flat network, but assume it's a different subnet or VLAN, okay? And Sonia must be laughing behind, right?
No, I'm confused.
Why? Because I am trying to replicate how you would do it on a production environment. Okay, so this is why assume your storage is running on a different subnet 10.10.10.11 and your storage device is here FreeNAS on 10.10.10.1. ठीक है, तो इस वजह से assume it's a different subnet as well and different VLAN. So what we did, we didn't actually select a VLAN ID here, which is fine, but this is just a lab, right? So ISCSI बोल के we connect, and again I can't, if I ask you guys to assign 10.10.10.51, it will be stupid because you are duplicating your own IP address there, right? You are creating an IP address, you are duplicating your duplicate IP address हो जाता हो, क्योंकि ये सर्वर का खुद ही 10.10.10.51 है. So the only logical thing I thought is my FreeNAS is running on a different subnet which I already planned, so I will use 10.10.10.11.51 for ISCSI traffic. I need to have an IP address on this ESX host to talk to that subnet, right? So that's what I'm doing. You're creating a IP on the ESX host to talk to your storage traffic. That's all you're doing. If it's on a different subnet, different VLAN, you will need to have an IP address assigned and a network connected to a different subnet, whichever you want to talk to. And also it should be on the same VLAN. Am I right? Right, Sonia?
Yeah.
So that's what we are doing. We are creating a port group for 10.10.11 to talk to our storage. Okay, and the IP which you should assign is 10.10.11.20 and 11.21 for your labs. Okay. Okay, finish. That's it. That's done. So now we will see it's added. So
sorry, I have a question there.
Sure.
You said you haven't selected any VLAN when we created this VMKernal for the storage network.
Yeah, because I don't have VLANs in my environment.
Okay.
मेरा flat network है. I don't have VLANs at all. I don't run a layer 2 switch. Layer 3.
Okay. Got it.
But in production network, obviously you will have all that, right?
Right.
And people want to segregate their traffic, especially storage traffic. They will never ever run on management network. So they will have a physical, जैसा physically different है ना ये. How would you know this is physically different? vSwitch 1 दिखा रहा, वहीं से मालूम हो जा रहा आपको कि it's different. Because if you look at the old labs, you will see everything is running on vSwitch 0. एक ही network पे चल रहा सब. Right? Over here, if you go to physical adapters, there is another thing which you missed. Now you can see vNIC 0, which is the management one. It is showing vSwitch 0, and vNIC 1, which is showing vSwitch 1. So now you know exactly this is a 10 gig network, this is a 10 gig number. They were isolated traffic now. Storage traffic is going on its own pipe. Got you?
Yeah.
समझ गए ना? So that's all we did. So we isolated basically we created a new network adapter and a vSwitch for our ISCSI network now. Okay?
Yeah.
And now what are we going to do? We basically are going to go to storage adapter. We are going to add our storage now. Okay? And we say add. And we are going to add the ISCSI adapter. Okay? And that's going to be added here. See, you can see that it's added. Now because the network part is done, all I have to do is I have to basically go to dynamic discovery here. You can't see the screen properly here. So there you go. Dynamic discovery पे आ गया मैं. And I click add. And now what I'm going to do is add the IP address or target of my storage. So 10.10.11.1, which I showed you just now. It's here, the free NAS box which I'm running, right? वो target दे दिए कि ये talk to this, and this is the default port. We are not changing the port. 3260 is for ISCSI. 10.10.11.1 बोल के दिए and click OK. And what does it say? Due to recent configuration changes, a rescan of VM HBA host bus adapter बोलते ना, storage के host bus adapter रहते. Remember the terminology. HBA को rescan करो बोल रहा हो. So we rescan the storage, and then it is saying I'll rescan the devices and VMFS volume as well. Okay, go for it. Rescan कर रहा हो, and we'll see it at the bottom if you open this tab. Rescanning VMFS. Yeah, and then updating internet authentication. ये भी कर लिया हो ISCSI का. So that's all done. Now if you go to devices, there you go, all your devices is come, all the LANs, you can see it now. And you go to storage, you should be seeing your storage. Bingo. Now you're where you left. Now you can create your VMs. Now you can, you know, do everything you want. Now if you want to be a little bit more brave, go to management DS01. You will not see any VMs, but यहाँ पर you will find your old VMs. Now if you remember, I asked you to create your VMs with your extension names sorry, with your what do you call initials or your names. So Sonia, look how many your VMs are here. Can you see that?
Yeah.
So you can, if you want, you can basically say, for example, this one you want to attach it. You go in there. Instead of creating a new VM, you can explore that as well. You can go in here and you can attach it. But for that, first thing first, what you need to do is this host is on maintenance, so it will not accept anything. So you need to basically exit maintenance mode here. And then what you have to do is go back to this one. So just as a test, I'm going to show you. So many VMs you have created. Let me pick this one, Sonia. Okay. So Sonia VM4, and then how do we attach a VM which is on a data store to the ESX host? Remember we did it in a session. Shall I jog your memory? There's a file called VMX. Remember that? So what we will be looking is the VMX. No, we can't add this one. This is a template. VMX ढूंढने गए तो VMTX दिख गया मेरे को. So this is the template. So I can't. Well, I can add a template, right? I can still add a template. But you see, as soon as I click the VMTX, ये register का icon आ जा रहा देखो. It won't come up if I click on any other files. Can you see that?
Yeah.
If I click the register, ये template हो जाता अगर ये click करा तो मैं. Okay. So let's register it. Okay. Obviously it only has one host there. Oops. Oh no, I didn't want to do that much. Okay, this is enough, right? So click finish. Now we are basically working in this environment. We are working in this. See, discovered virtual machine में template discover हो गया. That is the one which you just added. अगर virtual machine भी रहता था ना, वो ऐसे ही add हो जाता था. वो template था बोल के यहाँ पर आया. Because I did not go here. Because if I go here, I can't find it. And you will be confused. Why is we just added it? Why is it not there? My dear, it is a template. That's why it's not there. It is here. Okay, if it's a virtual machine, it will be there. Now let's create a virtual machine now. That's how simple you can get started, right? So assuming this is Win 11, maybe, who knows. So again, let's leave it there. Actually, let's start the standards of creating properly. So Prashant, what's his surname? I forgot.
Prashant Kumar.
Okay, PK.
The PK movie is there.
Who is that? PK?
PK movie also there.
Oh yes. Amir Khan, isn't it? Heard he's getting married again. He's in news these days. Oh, is he already married now? Okay, storage. We got the storage here. And then next, this is normal deploying a template, right? That's all we are doing. There you go, finish. Now, if we go here, you will see your VM is created. So that's how quickly now the session started after we rejoined. It's 27 minutes. In 27 minutes, you have a VM, you attach your template, and you created a virtual machine so quickly. And it's already been deployed. Well, whether it is completely deployed, that's a different question. So there you go. It's deploying from Sonia VM. यहाँ से हो रही देखो. You can see 40% is done. Okay. So that's how you will do it. So this is end to end, guys. We started from the scratch where we didn't have an IP on our ESX host. We assigned the IP address, the subnets. We tested from the command prompt with the domain name, and it was responding. After that, we added it to the vCenter server. Then what did you do? We assigned a new vSwitch with a new network card, right? And it was called vSwitch. It was called vSwitch 1, right? Virtual switches.
Yeah.
So we have standard switch 0 and standard switch 1. So now if you go and check here, we can see it is connected to VMK ports, and it is saying VMK1, and it has got the same IP which we gave it, and then that's what it is. So obviously it's not going to have VMs running on it because it's a kernel port. And then it is saying it is connected to VMK0, VMNIC 1, not VMK. VMNIC 1 is the naming convention for the vCenter. So we can see that when we go to physical adapters, we have two NICs. We have VMNIC 0 and VMNIC 1. And VMNIC 1, again, it validates our theory. It is connected to vSwitch 1. And by that time, what we did, we went to storage. We added a new storage adapter. And because we added that one, this adapter is grayed out now, ISCSI adapter, and the only FCOE adapter is there. So once you click on the ISCSI adapter and click OK, this will be created, VHBA, and then we go to dynamic discovery, add the IP of our target storage 10.10.11.1, and then click OK, and then we rescan. That's pretty much it. And then basically you will see the paths coming up here, and you will see the storage over here. Okay, so
Are we recording this one?
Yeah.
Okay, can you share it? It's just that it's hard to navigate to our
Yeah,
screen while you are doing it. So I want to do it after you are done.
I will send this on Google Drive. Okay,
Okay.
or
Yeah.
I'll see if YouTube is accepting the video, then we'll do it.
Okay. Sure.
Okay, so remember when I was trying to add 51, it was giving me error. Now it's a troubleshooting session. This is becoming a troubleshooting session. We are going to figure out what's happening. Okay, so go back to my production environment, the physical environment, and navigate to 50. It was having the right name, right? It was having the right IP, I mean IP तो सही है. So basic troubleshooting again, right? So what did we first do when we troubleshooting? We basically gave an ping test 10.10.10.50. Okay, that's working. So what did we do next? ns lookup. Ah, man, I did this mistake again, and Prashant did that. Okay, fair enough. Now I remember. ns lookup 10.10.10.50. There is no DNS there, and there is a good reason for that. This is why I always ask you to ns lookup and check whether the DNS. Now the big another problem which I'm surprised my son is not screaming, because the MAC address which the IP 50 is assigned to my Mac at home, and it's a static address which we have assigned to the Mac. So I can't use 50 for this one. The only lab which is a little bit different is going to be Prashant's, because I can't use 50, so I have to use 50 and 50, 51 and 52. So let's rename it to 52 PK and rename this one to 51. Okay, so in a good scenario, we figured out what the problem is. I was trying to add this with the host name. क्या नाम डाल रहा था मैं? I was trying to add the name 50 बोल के add कर रहा था, and it said it doesn't exist because there is a DNS name which is missing. So the troubleshooting is ended here. You go and add a DNS entry for ESX50 lab.agileops.co.uk and you should be able to add it. So that's how you resolve this issue. समझ गए ना? But now what we are going to do is we are going to assign this because there is a historical issue here. 50 is used by a different device at in my home. So that is why I'm going to basically assign 52 to this server, and 52 is there and it's unreachable because the IP we have given to the ESX host is 50. So what you have to do now is do a little bit of backtrack and then just not a lot changes, just change the IP address here. And if I remember the password, I didn't set a password. Okay, so we have to set a password to add it to the vCenter anyway, so this is why you have to do it. Okay, go to configure management network and then IP address, and over here, as I said, just set it to 52. Okay, and same like before, we are going to have this open. 51 को ping कर रहा है वो, actually ESX 52 को ping कर रहा है वो, right? And then we are going to escape here and say save the settings, yes. and you will see it responding. So if this test was done when I gave this IP address, I wouldn't have come in this situation where I had to go back and troubleshoot it later on. समझ रहे ना? So always don't leave things behind to do it later. Do everything at once. So obviously when you assign an IP address, make sure you have a command prompt open, you ping it, and if you don't know the DNS name, ns lookup for the IP address, get the DNS name and try to ping it with the name, because what are you doing? You're not going to add it with an IP, so there's no point pinging a machine with an IP address, right? You're going to add it with this name, so make sure you ping it with this name, and we will resolve two issues there. We will find out whether the DNS is working correctly and whether the server is online or not. तो दो काम भी हो गए यहाँ पर. Now the last thing which we will do is, now it is working okay as expected. Close. We don't need it anymore. We don't need this physical data center anymore, because obviously we have done configuration on our physical ESX host. समझ जाओ, everything is resolved there, right? The only reason you might need to come here is basically if your lab is off, then you need to power it on, then you right click and power it on from here. At the moment it's running, that's why it's running. Start recording back again. Okay, so basically what we have done so far is basically added 51 and added 52. दो भी add हो गए. So let me delete the old ones, because when we power on the V app, अगर old one भी है ना, तो वो old को भी power on करने की कोशिश करेगा, right? And the old ones are running on the same IP address as well, so you'll have another IP conflict scenario. So let's avoid that. Delete. So what we'll cover now is a little bit advanced topic which I wanted to cover in the advanced sessions. Like what we have done now is basically configure one ESX host from the scratch. So we set up everything we wanted on it, right? What do we have to do it if we have to build like 10 hosts? 10 hosts को पूरा process, adding a virtual NIC, adding the IP address and all that, you have to do it manually. Right, adding an IP, you still have to add an IP anyway, but there is a way for us to extract this information which we have created on this particular host. So we are done on this physical side now. Assume this is physical, right? We are done here, I mean, and we don't need to do anything else on this side. So I'll just rename this is named incorrectly. Okay, so we are going back to our VLab 50. This is where we are working now. So this is our lab. Okay, so what we are going to do is, now we are going to extract the profile of this host. Now before we do that, we might say that okay, this is not done yet, because what we have done is we basically configured some of the information. Like I configured that this is having a storage adapter. We configured that it needs another VMKernal adapter and a new virtual switch which we created here. That's all done. Another important thing which people forget is the time, and that creates problem later on. So always I would suggest on all your ESX server, make sure you are running the right time configuration. So you go to time configuration. Okay, before doing that, let me pick up the IP address of the NTP servers which my ESX hosts are looking at. So basically we are configuring the NTP as well. So when we do the host profile, it will automatically configure the time and everything for you, so you don't need to do it again. So let's close our physical, we don't need it anymore. So this, you're back to your vCenter now and your cluster, and you're working, this is your environment now, this is your, so you're full admin here. And what you're going to do is you're going to configure the time settings, NTP settings, sorry. So you go there. Now notice it has already picked up the time. It's saying 11:43. I think it's the correct time. Is it? Yeah, 11:44 बता रहा ना ये machine पे. So yeah, it is a correct time, but it is slightly behind, I think couple of seconds, right? Now this seconds can become minutes, and minutes can become 10 minutes. Like I noticed the other day, one of my server was behind for 15 minutes, which is not good, because when you try to do vMotion, it will give you an error. Time is skewed a lot, and it will say in milliseconds, sorry, in seconds it will say. So 15 minutes यानी कि it will say like 15, अच्छा खासा बता देता हो, समझ रहे ना? So that's not good. Actually sometimes it does say that in milliseconds as well, so it's a big number there. Okay, so we are enabling this, and I will paste this IP addresses, and also I will select NTP service start and stop manually. Start and stop manually is a wrong thing, because then every time I restart the server, I have to go in and start the NTP server. There is an option which says start and stop with the host. So whenever the host is stopped, it will stop. Whenever the host is started, it will be started and it will be running. So select that, and also tick this box which is start NTP service, and then click OK. ओके देखो टाइम चेंज हो गया, 11:55 22 हो गया एग्जैक्टली. सो 55 चल रहा था यहाँ पर भी. You might have seen that it in a blip it fixed it. Okay, so that's fixed. So now I think other than this, what I would do on a production environment is logs. Sometimes you can point the logs to a different data store, so you can configure that. But at the moment, or normally, if you are running the logs on the same local host as well, and you are installed ESX on a disk, that is ideal really. On the disk it will be there. Some people say if the disk crashes, you'll lose the logs. It pros and cons. If there is a network issue, or if there is a problem, then the logs are not even recorded first. At least if it's on a local disk, if there is a network problem, still the logs are recorded. It will be locally on the disk, but when you get to the disk, you will get it local disk pe hai to. But on the other hand, if the local disk crashes, you lose it, right? Pros and cons. So I wouldn't say what is right or wrong. It's just however the environment is designed, you have to go with the flow basically. Okay, now to extract a host profile, what we'll do is we'll basically first right click on the host and select host profile and extract host profile. So host profile lab 50, let's say lab 50. Okay, and then I will also mention in the description that this is with NTP ISCSI and additional VMNIC 1 adapter. So whatever changes you have done in this one, you will basically be adding it there. So whatever configuration is there in that one, you will be adding it there. What else can we add there? Have we done something else? I don't think so, right? So make it descriptive, so you understand that if you use this profile, what are the things that will be added. So you know these will be added. So NTP will be added, ISCSI network, additional let's type new VMNIC network as well. So if we click OK, this will basically extract the host profile. Just give me 1 second, someone is at the door. Okay, so creating host profile, you can see that here. Is it done? Is it successful? Very good question, right? So how do we check that? So to check host profiles, you will go to menu and then administration. No, wrong place. Hang on. I would just click on vSphere here. Yeah, and then we will go host profiles here, and then the one which we just created should come up with the timestamp, right? There you go. ESX host lab 50. That's it, it's done. Now why are we using host profiles? We did so much configuration on our first host and we made it to the point when we think it is configured with the all the information it needs. Now we are going to add another host, right? So what are we going to do is we are going to basically apply this host profile to that new host. Okay, and there is also one trick. We can, even if you forget the password, we can reset it with this host profile, because there is no other way to reset a password if you forget it or configure it. If your host is added to the vCenter and you've forgotten the password, then you can use the host profile to recover the password or set a new password up, and then you can use that password to log into the host. But if you have an ESX host which is not connected to the vCenter, then I'm afraid you have to rebuild it. Okay, that's another important point you need to remember. Okay, let's go back to our cluster and then add the new ESX host 52 which we just did the IP address on, and then we will add that ESX host first. Let's add it. I copied this, hang on. Let's copy the ESX 52. Oh no, there's only one anyway. Root London 2020 exclamation mark. Next. There you go, show thumbprint. Last time it was giving error message because it wasn't even on DNS, right? There you go, it is adding it. And boom, there you go, it is there. Disconnected, it will take some time to reconnect. Yeah, reconnected as you can see, and then it will come and add it to the cluster. There you go, and it is on maintenance mode. Another thing, playing with host profile, always have your host on maintenance mode, because you are changing networks, you are changing so many things, sometimes you need to reboot. And that is why I would suggest always, if you have VMs running, evacuate it, move it to another host, and then you can apply it. Some changes can be done without a reboot, which you can, but you need to learn which one can be done. Like changing a password can be done without having it on maintenance mode. Okay, so that can be done probably, and this is, I'm telling you by experience. But I would recommend you to put it on maintenance mode when you're applying host profile. Now how do we apply the host profile? So right click on the cluster, you can apply the host profile to the entire cluster. That means this host profile is going to be attached to this cluster. There are two good things with that. The host profile is also can be used to keep a consistency in the profile in the environment. If anything deviates from the host profile, if say for example one of the server, someone goes and changes the NTP addresses, or someone deletes it, or if your NTP service is not running, if you have the host profile attached, it will keep a compliance of it, and it will say, oh, something is wrong, one of the server is not having NTP service started, and you will pick it up immediately. Yeah, changing an IP is a big thing, but a service after a reboot, it can be likely that it can start or it can not start sometime. So that is also another thing. So what we can do is apply the host profile on the cluster level here. Okay, and attach the host profile, or you can add it individually to the ESX host. Okay, but we are going to attach it on the cluster level. So again, it was this one, the last one. See, host profile lab 50 NTP ISCSI and new VMNIC adapter. That's what we want. Okay, just 1 second. Kids are playing games, and when they play and they lose, they cry. Always this happens. Just 1 second, let me go and check what's happening, and we'll resume it. Okay. Okay, I'm back, guys. So we have got the host profile now, and then what we are going to do is we click on the ESX host, and I'll show you where to check which host profile is applied. Now if we click on the host itself and we scroll down, let's make this screen a little bit bigger. Obviously I just want to show you that it's still on maintenance mode. And if you go to configuration, no, it's not here, it's going to show us somewhere. Compliance बोल के आता, हाँ, host compliance. ये देखो host profile दिखा रहा है and it is showing which profile is attached. Okay, and it is basically say host compliance is unknown. Okay, so if I right click and then I say host profile, before we do anything, because this profile was pulled from ESX51, we need to sanitize it and we need to configure it before we apply it to this particular server. Okay, so what we are going to do is we are going to edit and customize this host profile. First thing what we will do after assigning it. So edit and customize, and over here there are two things. The IP address is only going to be the one which we will be changing, right? So यहाँ पर IP दिखा रहा है. Which IP I am talking about? I am talking about the ISCSI IP address or the storage IP address which we are going to assign, because that is not assigned to this server, because this server has two network cards but the other IP is not assigned. So there you go, ISCSI IP address and ISCSI क्या है ये, subnet है ये, right? This is subnet and this is the IP. There are two things. We can assign this, but one thing you need to check, if you remember. Okay, let's configure this. So this one basically is going to be IP address. You know what is going to be 10.10.10.52 and then 255.000.0.0. Check it again. 255. Have I got so many dots that I can't even read? Yeah, that's better. Okay, so that's correct. This is the IP address of the machine. हाँ यहाँ है देखो. Maybe that's I'm trying to reduce it and it's still going up. Hang on, let's see. Okay, so back to where it is. That's better. Okay, so 10.10. I did this mistake. See, it needs to be on 11.52 and this needs to be 10.0.0.0. If I put it on 10.10.10.52, it's going to have an IP conflict because ये machine का 10.10.10.52 है. So 11, remember ISCSI network is on storage. Our storage is on number 11 subnet. So 10.10.11.52 and then the subnet is this. Click on OK. One last thing we need to check. Remember I told you for you guys to learn, I did not enable the what didn't I enable? I didn't enable the network card. So I am not sure for this host 52 whether the network card is enabled. So let's quickly go and check it. Expand that. कहाँ गया? We'll have 50. 52 is here. Right click, edit settings. Yeah, it is enabled. 52 is enabled. So that's good. So that's one check you guys need to do as well. I don't want this ESX1 running. Power off, because you guys are going to start your labs as well. It will take resources unnecessarily. Okay, so we are pretty much done. Now what are we going to do? we don't need this anymore. We made sure all the networks are connected. It's basically just making sure it is patched or not correctly, right? That's all you are doing. Now we apply the host profile. So apply the host profile. You can see over here when we come, I showed you that when you apply host profile at the bottom, you'll see it, and it will show whether it is compliant or not. So if we click on the ESX host, and it's saying the status is unknown at the moment. So now we can apply it because we know we have assigned the right IP address. And say for example, I'm adding another ESX host. I need to go and customize it again because I need to change that IP address for ISCSI adapter according to that particular host. समझ रहे ना? So let's go here, and then what we'll do on host profile, you need to say remediate, and then automatically reboot. Yeah, recommended. I would do pre-checks first, recommended, as it's recommended. So pre-checks recommendation, it's doing that. Done. So that's successful, completed. Now we will apply it. Remediate again. Now we'll say remediate it. So what is happening? So if we keep an eye on here, we will see a storage adapter will be created, a network card will be created, a vSwitch will be created. Okay, all that configuration changes. And again, we didn't create multiple adapters. If we would have created multiple adapters, all those adapters would have been created here automatically. So you'll see another one will come. So maybe when you are doing the next session, I'll show you how to create port group for ESX. Then what we can do is you can add multiple port groups, like we had 10 port groups. वो 10 individually करने गए तो it will take time. See, the vSwitch one is there now, right? Can you see that? And it is got the same IP address which I did. So how much time it took to do it manually? All that is done here, which is done by this automation. Well, I call it automation because you are not doing it yourself. It's automated, right? Using host profile. So ये session जो है automation session बन गया है आज, because we automated how to deploy ESX using the script, using the template which we did in the first. And how many did we created? We created like 8 VMs, right, with that script. And then obviously we configured the first one, and the second one basically we configured using this host profile. So there you go, ये ISCSI network भी आ गया, and you can see that it is on the right network. Storage adapter जाके check कर लेंगे अपन. There you go, a new storage adapter is created. And then what else have we got? Yeah, devices भी आ गए यहाँ पर. See, vSAN. And then if you go to data store, we can see the storage. There you go. So 52 is all ready now, and it's 100% working. And then all you have to do here is exit maintenance mode, and then you're in business. There you go, compliant बोल के भी आ गया. So this is a good way of making sure your cluster is compliant with all the changes which you want, and it's not deviating from your standards. समझ रहे ना? So this is a new topic which we covered. Isolated topic थी, advanced topic थी, but it goes with the flow, right? We did host configuration, and then we had to do the second one. So why not do it now? And you guys will learn something how to do it, and it combines in this session. It's recorded, so you can learn how to build a new host, how to configure it, and how to extract the host profile, and how to customize the host profile, which we did with the IP address for VMKernal adapter for talking to our storage. So all we did is the same IP address 10.10.11.52 and the subnet, which is 255.0.0.0, and that's it. We did a remediation pre-check and then remediated it, and everything is working, and it says the tick in the box that it's compliant. Now if I click first one, will it say it is compliant? Because it is applied on the cluster, right? दोनों भी compliant रहना है. यहाँ पर क्यों नहीं बता रहा फिर? So what we have to do is click on this, check compliance. Now it is going to check whether it is compliant or not. And it says it is compliant. There you go. So this is how I would build and run my production environment. Clean. Okay, there's no errors, no issues. And the only other thing I would have added, or I would have done, if we had multiple port groups for production, I would have gone and added all those port groups beforehand. Okay, and then created the host profile. So when it comes to the production, everything in production should look the same. If you are missing a port group, vMotion ke time pe, if that network is not having a port group on that machine, then it won't vMotion. So add all the port groups at that time. But that's something which we didn't cover yet. So we'll learn how to create a port group and all that. Have we done it yet, Sonia? I can't remember. आई थिंक वी डिड इट राइट. वी डिड इट. वीलैन बोल के जो है अपन आईडीज बना रहे थे, देखो वीलैन के वीलैन 50 वो बोल के करे जैसा, या ख्याल है मेरे को. विच होस्ट वाज दैट? आई थिंक इट वाज 30 वी वर वर्किंग ऑन. 30 पे कर रहे थे, मुबीन के होस्ट पे कर रहे थे ना अपन. लेट्स गो एंड चेक इट. देयर यू गो, वी डिड इट. सी, लास्ट टाइम वी वर डूइंग दिस, रिमेंबर? So vSwitch, and it is basically a VMKernal port group which we are creating for VM virtual machines, right? So potentially I can show you that as well, because again, if you forgot it, then this is a good way to learn it as well, right? So how do we create port groups for production? Production traffic jo hai, if this VM is here, what network is it going to use? So if you go edit settings, ideally again you will be wanting it to be on different subnets and different VLANs and all that, right? So at the moment we only have default one VM network. There is no port groups added. So standard virtual switch jab create kare apan, standard virtual switch pe we can add port groups. So that is the topic we covered last time. So what we'll do is we will basically add it here, and we'll say virtual machine port group for standard switches. Okay, and then ये पूरी networking भी class हो जा रही है आज. Then select existing standard switch. We don't, if we had another network adapter lying there, we would have created a new one. ठीक है ना? But we don't. So let's put it on vSwitch 0, which is management, which is fine. And then we can say VM VM traffic, and then VLAN 50 example, or VLAN 500 maybe. Okay, and then we just set the VLAN which we know which we want it to be. Okay, but because I don't have VLANs, I don't basically have it. I won't select it, but we say, let's say this is UAT server. Okay, so we have UAT. Okay, let's copy this, because what you have to do is we have to create it on the other host as well, or it will not work. So wo create ho gaya. Can you see that? And then we have to create it on this host as well. Same thing. Virtual machine port group, standard switch, existing. No, I need to select vSwitch 0. Okay, and then the same name again. Copy paste कर लिया मैं तो. And notice here we are not assigning any IP address or anything like here. खाली एक port group create कर रहे हैं, क्योंकि it is actually using the 10.10.10.51 or 52. It is using the management network. समझ रहे ना? For standard switches. See, at the end you'll find it. See, आ गया यहाँ पर. And there is no virtual machines connected, it's saying. And over here as well, it's going to say there is no virtual machines connected, because we didn't assign this on that port group. So let's assign it. Edit settings, and then go to network, browse, VM traffic, वही नाम है देखो, same, VLAN 500 UAT. Okay, so now depending on which host it is, you'll see that VM is connected here. It's not here. देखो one virtual machine दिखा रहा है यहाँ. Open it, you'll see that, and it will show which path is going through that physical adapter, right? Now if you want to be a little bit more clever and want to simulate the production environment fully, what we can do is you guys can add another network adapter on your VMs here, and then for production network as well, use another one, use another NIC. Or if you want, I can just run the script and add another network adapter. What do you want me to do? Shall I run the script again and add another network adapter?
We can manually
add it.
do that. Yeah.
Sorry?
We'll manually add it.
You'll add it
so
manually.
that-
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, add it manually. You want to do it as well, Mishra?
Yes, I'll do it.
Okay. So yeah, this is a good learning for you. Do it yourself. And yeah, and then वो जो VM traffic का network रहेगा ना, then you basically create, you learn how to create a network as well, and then it will be vSwitch 3 now. No, 2 रहेगा, 0 है, 1 है, 2 रहेगा वो, vSwitch 2 रहेगा, and then when you click on it, it will show that it is going through a different path. Okay, but you guys will do it, I agree, and I completely understand, but just for the recording I will show it here. Okay, so let's go and add that network here manually. So you will go to your own respective labs. So this one I'm working on VLab 50, and then edit settings. Okay, add device. What are we device, which device are we adding now? Network adapter. Okay, let everything here be on VM network only. Okay, don't change that. Automatically connected है यहाँ पर. Okay, click OK. Actually do 2 of them. I will tell you why. If you are replicating production environment, production एक network पे नहीं चलाते कभी भी. Production network को we put 2 network cards there. One failover पे भी डालते, and you learn how to do the failover bit as well. So add 2 of them. 2 add कर लिया अपन. यहाँ पर भी 2 add करो on this one as well. Add one. There you go, that's added. Add another one. Okay, I think remaining time is 6 minutes. We are on a clock, boys. Let's do it. So that's done. We are done here. We don't need this physical network anyway. Physical connectivity side, we don't need that. Now we are back here. So first thing, what are we going to do? You guys tell me. We are going to create a new physical network. Add a network below physical adapter. Next. ओके, फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल अपन ऐड करें ना तो कहां पर चेक करना कितने नेटवर्क अडेप्टर्स है अपने करने ESX को अटैच्ड. यू गो टू द फिजिकल अडेप्टर एंड देन यू विल सी द लिस्ट ऑफ देम. राइट, यू कांट सी दैट हियर दो. कैन यू सी? यू कांट सी दैट हियर. सो व्हाट विल डू, I don't know whether we might need a reboot or not, but let's try it. Let's try to add a network adapter and say physical adapter. Click next, and then new standard switch create करें. Click next, and then add. There is no switches for Radha. Okay, so to fix this, maybe what we can do is we can go here, because last time when we went here we were able to add it, remember? Directly जो है refresh करते कि add हो गया था. If not, we might need to do a reboot for this one. So it's in network, and if we go to network adapters, see, it's not coming up. So we will have to reboot the machines, I'm afraid. So just give it a quick reboot. Adding network. Now let's be honest, on your physical server, if you are adding a network card, you have to power it down anyway, right? Okay, and then reboot this one as well. So remember to reboot your machines. if in a real world scenario, if you are working on production environment, you will add a change reference number over here saying 00 whatever it is number to say that you are rebooting these machines because you are adding a network adapter, and then once it is powered off, you will get someone in the data center to do it, or you manually go to the data center and pull that server out, add your network card, make sure it's seated properly, put the cover back in, slide the server in, power it on, and come back to your desk and check whether it is added, right? That's how you would do it. Okay, so I did send a reboot command and there you go, it's stopped responding here, so that means it's rebooting. 50 to nahi yaar. 51, let's try that. So 51 is coming back. Started responding. So we have 2 minutes. Rejoin the session because this is very important, because we are going to learn how to add standard port groups. We did it last week, I guess. The only thing about standard port groups is case sensitive. So when you're adding network cards, port groups, you need to make sure UAT, which I have written in that name, has to be in capital. If it is in lowercase, that's a different port group then, because it's case sensitive, and that is one of the drawbacks of having standard virtual switches. So this is why we'll cover next topic, which is distributed virtual switches, which basically is a little bit easier to manage. So our first host is back. Let's start the ping on the other one. And this is how I would expect you to work on a production environment. If you're doing a change and you're rebooting something, make sure you are on top of it, making sure it is coming back. Sometimes when the hardware is rebooted, you get other errors like motherboard errors, or it might not come back. Let's be real. This is why you write a change saying this is what I am changing, and at least if something goes wrong, and if someone escalates, you can say, oh yeah, we were doing a change to add a network adapter, we rebooted the machine, and unfortunately it didn't come back, and we investigated it, we found that it has a CPU issue or a motherboard issue now, and then we have raised a ticket with the vendor to get it replaced. So both of them are back, and now I am on a timer of 1 minute 17 seconds to add this network adapter. So go back in, physical adapter we are adding, next new virtual switch, and then add, and you see you got 2 and 3 there. So let's add 2 and then add 3, both of them. Why am I adding both network adapters? This is what I'm going to do. Here we can be clever. We can say select active adapter यहाँ पर है, इसको standby adapter में डाल दो. Okay. So now we have 2 switches added. There you go. And now you can see the virtual switch called 2, right? Let's delete or remove this adapter. Before we remove, hang on, let's copy the name. Of course, when you're doing it in production, you need to make sure no traffic is connected to those virtual machines if you are doing it. Now we are going to add a network, and this time we will select, see, we are having 3 different things. We did this for ISCSI. So these are like everything what we are doing is from here, right? We are adding basically, as it says, add network. Which network? Add VMKernal network, yeah, virtual machine port group for standard switches, which is what we are doing now. And we also just now added a physical network, and in that physical network we added physical network for our production traffic, yeah, production VM traffic ke liye, and we added 2 network cards. In that, one I put on active and one by standby. Remember, just now we did it. Now we are back here again. Now we are going to create a virtual machine port group, but we are going to select vSwitch, the one which we just now created. So select the existing standard switch, and we have this vSwitch 2, which has 2 network cards now, and this is now dedicated VM traffic. Now we are going to send it. So this is how a production environment look like. You have a vSwitch 0 where your management is. You have vSwitch 1 where you have your storage devices shared storage devices that you are connecting to that using a different VLAN at different subnet, and your VM traffic is going to be any number of VLANs, any number of subnets, but it only needs to be a port group, and at the back of that VM traffic you need to have two network adapters. If one fails, the other one is there for standalone, or else your all production traffic for that particular host is going to be not able to communicate. That's why you need two. So we created this name, I copied it from the back. Now ideally you will put it on a different VLAN, and then the server you will IP it with that different subnet. But over here we let's assume this is VLAN 500. Okay, UAT. Okay, leave it like that, and then click next, and that's it. You're not adding an IP address or anything, because the IP will be given in the VM. Inside the VM you'll assign the IP, whether it's Windows or Linux. So again, while we are here, we did it on which one? This one. So we have to do it on the other one as well, because this is a standard virtual switch. You have to do it on both of them. vSwitch 1 is there, but we didn't even create a standard virtual switch 2. So let's go here. But good thing is we can go now in virtual adapters, and we can see that we got now 2 and 3 here. It's not assigned to any port group or vSwitch. You can see here. So what we'll do is we'll do the same lab again. On here we'll go back to virtual standard switches, and we will create a new network adapter. Now notice when we go to physical adapters as well, there is a add network. You can do from there, you can do from here. We did it from there. Let's do it from here. Okay, same wizard we came up, but it's already selecting physical network adapter. Then click next. Then we'll say no, this is not what we are doing. We didn't create the virtual switch first, so we will create a virtual switch first. For creating virtual switch, I think standard virtual switch, we have to go back here anyway, and then add, and then we'll say this one again. It is the same wizard. Then let's select existing switch. No, new standard switch. That's what you are creating. Yeah, there you go. So we have to come here to create a standard switch. Now we click add, and add the first one, and then add the second one. Now the second one, I want to put it on a standby. So if first one fails, the standard will work automatically. Or you can have both. You can send traffic with both of them. If you send traffic with both of them, one is actually 10 gig. So you have 20 gig network for your production traffic. If one fails, then you're down to 10 gig. That is also a good option to do. So you can decide what to do. But for consistency, we have on the other host, we have this on standby. So we put it on standby just to replicate what we did on there. Now you can see that vSwitch 2 is created now, and it is assigned to adapter VMNIC 2 and VMNIC 3 automatically. So if we go back here, now we can see, there you go, vSwitch 2 is assigned to adapter VMNIC 2 and 3. And now the final bit is basically creating that adapter which we did. Go back, port group, creating the port group. So we will go back here. First of all, now I remember we created this port group here again. So we might need to check that whether it is there. On vSwitch 0 पे रहेगा ना? Yeah, see, if I create the same name, it will give an error message that it is already there. So delete this. And also you notice that there is a VM attached to this, right? So if you're doing it on production, then I would say name it a little bit new, so you don't get a error message. And then when you create it with a different name, you have to create it on both or all the ESX hosts, and then all that production traffic which is running on this this name port, you switch it to the new one without impacting your production traffic. Or the other way to do it would be edit settings underscore old कर दो इसको. It shouldn't impact the traffic. ये automatically pick कर लेगा. Well, this is not powered on actually, so you wouldn't even notice it. तो ये old पे है. Okay, I don't know what we are running here. Let's power it on. Oh, host is not compatible. Okay, we'll look into that. I think it is built on a different version maybe. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll continue with our session, which we are basically going to add this port group on the standard virtual switch 2. Okay, over here. So we click on standard virtual switch and then we click add and we select virtual machine port group for standard switches. Next, and then you already have vSwitch 2 there, so we don't need to do any changes. And then we name it, right? And then we click next and then finish. Okay, and similarly, while we add it, you want to create all the port groups which we need when you are working on this. So when later when you create a host profile, so this is VLAN 500, VLAN यहाँ पर आके 501 maybe if you have that, right? You create that. Okay, and then that's done. Actually it will be VLAN 0 for my environment, but you know the idea why I'm doing that. And then lastly what we'll do is we want something for production, so we want another one. So we will basically create another one. Next, for VLAN 1000 and 1, from 1001 let's say we are going to have prod traffic. Okay, and then we will copy that. We'll have couple of these VLAN port groups created. ये पहला हो गया, and then we add another one depending which traffic where you are sending, right? You need to have individual. Oops, not here. 1000 is created here, so we click on add. So this is how quickly we are able to create it, but we are only doing it on first one, right? So you have to go back and do all of this on the second one as well. Normally if you are creating a VLAN, you would say 1002 here. That's all we do to tag the VLAN, and then we click next, and then you can see the VLAN ID which is matching the port group, which is 1002, and then VLAN ID 1002. So go back, we don't have a VLAN ID, just delete that, 0 कर देंगे फिर से. Next, but that's how you would do it, guys. Okay, so I have quite a few created now, but it is not created here. So again, do I extract a host profile again and then do it? I think I would right click and then create a new host profile, because I have created so many VLAN ID, and if I try to manually create them on the other host, there will be so many mistakes and it might be a problem, right? So extract a host profile. Now this time it will have all the description, all the port groups as well. So first we have NTP there, we have VMK ISCSI, right? Then we have what do you have? Additional NICs and the VM port groups. It has additional NICs. How many did we put? 3 of them. Okay, so this just as a description of what we have there, and click OK. So that's extracting this source profile. And now on the top level I will go and change the host profile, because we have the host profile running here, we can see it here. There you go. Immediately it has gone non-compliant, because the old profile we created did not have the additional network card and did not have this configuration of vSwitch which we have here, which we did. All this is new, right? So it's not compliant. All this is new. How many port groups we have? We have so many port groups. If I zoom out so you see it better, अरे 25 कैसा चल गया यार, दैट्स रॉन्ग. Are you getting my point? देखो कितने क्रिएट कर लिए. स्टैंडर्ड वर्चुअल स्विच 2 एंड देन वी हैव VM ट्रैफिक VLAN 1000, 1002 prod, UAT के VLANs हो गए. एंड इफ वी हैव 4 VMs, like one in UAT VLAN 501, one in UAT 500 and then prod के जो है 1002, 1000 में वो VLANs को create कर सकते. But what we have to do is we have to actually connect the traffic on this. So we go edit settings of the VM here, browse, and say this is no longer on that particular VLAN. We want to switch it to the right VLAN now and on the right port group, because it वो VLAN में single point of failure है ना. If the network goes down, it's over here we have 2 network cards, so we just switch it to this one, click OK, and that's it. It's done. The network is switched to this one. I don't even see it will have a ping drop. So it is the same network, same VLAN, so it will just continue working. If you are changing VLAN, changing subnet, then obviously you need downtime because you have to reconfigure the Windows IP address inside the Windows as well. So ये हो गया. So now we've extracted a profile, right? I don't even remember what name I gave that profile. Name के ऊपर तो तवज्जो ही नहीं दिया. But let's go and check it. So go vSphere. So what date is it? 5th and March. So it is this one, right? So if I right click, rename कहाँ गया यार? ये तो edit है. I remember something else. I will tell you in a minute. यार रीनेम नहीं कर सक रहे हैं. हाउ इज दिस पॉसिबल? Let's duplicate this and I will rename it. No, duplicate तो ऐसा नहीं होता. There should be somewhere I'm missing something. Hang on. There you go. Name and description यहाँ पर है. So host profile VLab 50, okay, and we can say updated. V1 version 1 समझो. And then you will look at the version number. Version 1 is the first one. Okay, so this में काफ़ी सारे network cards है and port groups and everything is there. So save that. देखो, where is it gone? Oh, it's still working. Yeah, it's changed the name. Now one thing which we can do with host profile while we are covering this topic, what we can do in the host profile is we can go here, and if you want to set a new password, yeah, for your host profile, you can go edit host profile, and in the settings you can go here. This is a very good thing to remember. Security settings, and then security, and then user configuration, and then root. Can you see the root? तो यहाँ पर you can change this, leave password unchanged for default account, and you can say fix password, and I can set a password, and in my environment wherever on this cluster this password will only work. So I know what the password is, so let me set that password now. But say for example if I forgot the password, I can set this password on this host profile itself, or I can create a new host profile, untick everything like this, untick. समझ रहे ना, ये पूरा अनटिक कर दे सकता हूँ मैं, and then basically only leave this part there, security, and this one, untick everything else, and I can use that just to reset the host password for that cluster or that particular host. समझ रहे ना? So that's a way to reset the password for the ESX host if you forgot it. Because if you forget it, you have to rebuild the host. There is no way around it. But if it is added to the vCenter, you are lucky. Then you can basically do something. If you are planning to reboot it and you are afraid you might need to get in to investigate, so first reset the password, then reboot it. Reset it from here if it is added to the vCenter. If you can't get to the host root or password से, तो root का password यहाँ से set कर लो. Okay, so that's how you would do it. So save that. So that's going to set the password as well. And last thing we need to do is customize it, right? So for customization, we will go here, and first of all attach it to the host. So we will say the old profile is attached, right? You can detach that old profile जिसके अंदर वो network adapters हुए नहीं थे, देखो. You detached it. Now attach it. So we go host profile, attach the profile, and then this time you know which to select is this one. VLab 50 update V1 बोल के select करें. इसके अंदर 3 network adapters और port groups भी है. Click that. Okay. Now if you go here, V switch 1 is there. Old switch है, इसको delete कर दो. Aha, I see a problem now. The old switch will come back now, see. Because obviously we extracted the host profile and then we deleted that, right? So V switch 1 जो है वो VMKernal है, which is fine. And then V switch 2 जो है, it has all of this. But just now I deleted the host profile, the old network, right? It will come back now, see. Because I'm going to apply it to this one, and this ESX host doesn't have any of the port groups. Well, it has this one, only one, right? It has this one, but it doesn't have the rest of them. So let's basically apply it. So we basically want to go in and edit the host profile customization. Okay, so where are we? I have a funny feeling this might fail because we already did the configuration for the network. Yeah, it has picked up that this is 52 already, right? And this is 255.255.255.0. So it might not fail. Let's see. We'll find out. And again, working with host profile, you will see a lot of time it will fail. And you will need to research why it is, and you have to tweak the settings and all that. So that's done. So updated the customization बोल के बता दे रहा है यहाँ पर. And you see, this is the only change we are doing. We are adding like 4 or 5 VLANs which we created, production VLAN and one UAT VLAN. That's all we are doing. But in the background, it will do all the checks, all the other checks as well. समझ रहे ना? So let's apply, remediate it. Let's check it. Pre-check कर लेंगे एक वक्त. Because the host is not on maintenance mode, right? That's why. If it fails, it will fail here, and we'll see it why it is failing. Okay, unmute yourself and tell me if you followed this or not, because this is a quite intense session. We only left one topic behind, which is distributed port groups, which we will cover next week. But other than that, आज के ये 2 घंटे के सेशन में you learn how to build a ESX, how to attach it, how to configure it, how to maintain it as well using host profiles, compliance कैसा करना है, and how to make your life easy by configuring everything on the first host. This is one of the question in VMware exams as well. Maybe they might ask, like, how do you make sure you have a compliance, and you can use host profiles, or you can say you just added a new host. How do you make sure you copy the information from the existing host? You can say host profile again, right? उससे extract करो और इसमें attach कर लो, right? So those sort of things. Okay, so we are here, and it is come back and say it doesn't have any errors, so we can go back and remediate again, and that's it for today's session, I guess, because this will going to make my host, my cluster, you know, up to date with the information I have on 51, and this is how I would, you know, build it and run it in a production environment. Again, everyone has their own ways to tweak things and do, but in general I would say this is how we would want it to run.
Yeah, we'll wait for the recording, Ibrahim, to be able to finish this lab. It's
There you go, all of it is here now. Can you see that? Recording मैं कैसा भी upload कर दूंगा थोड़ी देर से encode करके. कितनी जितनी बड़ी recording उतना टाइम लगेगा, बस ये है.
right.
There you go, it's done. And I will not be surprised if the old one is come back. See, it has come back. क्योंकि अपन जो है पहले होस्ट प्रोफाइल क्रिएट करे फिर डिलीट करे जाके, रिमेंबर दैट. सो दिस इज व्हाई इट्स बैक. एंड अगेन इफ आई रिमूव दिस इट विल नॉट बी कंप्लायंट. अब ये जो कंप्लायंट बोल के जो बता रहा ना यहाँ पर, यू विल सी दैट होस्ट प्रोफाइल इज कंप्लायंट बोल के देखो. If I remove that one, it will say it's not compliant again, because it doesn't know what is compliant and what not. I know it's unnecessary, I am going to remove it, but VMware host profile will check, oh, something is missing, so it's not compliant. समझ रहे ना? And again, if we click on first one, it will say it's not run the compliance yet, but see, unknown बता रहा है. So all you do is click on compliance check, and that is going to make sure it has everything there. Now I think it will come back and say it is not compliant now, because you deleted the UAT profile, remember, on this host underscore old बोल के जो लिखा हुआ था. So that might come up, see, not compliant. समझ नहीं ना बात? So to fix that, all we have to do is right click again, edit host profile. ये 50 का है तो ये प्रोडक्शन है, और ये 50 10.10.11 का है. So that's already there. Click OK. And then remediate it again, and then it will basically create that UAT underscore old profile there, जो यहाँ पर missing है. मैं delete कर दिया था ना यहाँ पर से, and that's it. ये यहाँ से delete कर दिया था देखो v60 से, तो it will put that back in there, and it will say yeah, you are compliant again, and remediate करो तो सीधा we know it will work, and you'll see that one coming up there. And then we go back and check the compliance, it will say it is compliant. Okay, batch applying, host configuration शुरू हो गया. It's taking time. Yeah, it's done now. देखो ओल्ड वन इज बैक हियर नाउ. अब अपन जाके देखें तो कंप्लायंट बोल के भी बता देगा वो. कंप्लायंस चेक कर रहा है ना. Give us the tick box saying it's compliant. There you go. So we proved it. We deleted a VLAN which we didn't need it, but the host profile still had it, and it basically said it's not compliant. Okay, so every time, that's a good way to keep it up to date, is you create a new host profile. If you delete some stuff, and if you add some stuff, you add a new host profile and attach it to the cluster. On the cluster level, all the hosts are on the same spec. मालूम करने का सबसे आसान तरीका वो है कि ये compliant है नहीं है. If someone added a VLAN on one particular host and didn't tell about you, and they forgot to add it on, maybe they added it on 7 hosted and forgot to add it on 2 or 1, then if you make it a habit for them to, whenever you add new VLAN, you create a new host profile and attach it, okay? So that's basically going to make him do that, and immediately he will pick up, oh, this particular one is not compliant, and goes and check that he didn't apply that host profile on that particular one. So those VLANs are missing on there. So वहाँ पर easily you can avoid production issues and all that incidents. So all done, guys. I think this is pretty much it, covering VM kernel adapters, network adapters for physical like VMKernal, and standard port groups. Everything we covered here, apart from distributed, which is going to be covered next week. So we covered virtual switches, we covered VM kernel adapters. We have 2 adapters here, one for ISCSI, and this is the existing one for management. And we saw when we add a network card, we just need a reboot, and we created a dedicated vSwitch for production traffic. And after doing that, basically what we did is we added production workload, and we moved the production workload to this new switch, and that's about it really. Any question, guys? Any questions?
No, sir. Only a video you can send so that we'll cross check once.
Thank you very much for watching. Comment on below and let me know if you liked today's topic. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, and hit the notification bell to get all new updates from me. My blog is agileops.co.uk. Be sure to subscribe to my blog, because all the videos which I am covering on my YouTube channel, I'll be posting blog posts around it, so you can follow with step-by-step instructions with screenshots. I would love to hear from you, so you can follow me on Twitter and send me a message on Twitter, or you can send me a direct message at Ibrahim Qureshi, as you can see here. Enjoy watching and keep sharing. Cheers, bye.